Hello everybody, welcome to Talk About Houses. I'm Todd.
I'm Juana.
So today's video is about the top 10 most overvalued housing markets. Now this is subjective. This is really subjective, right?
So this is using values from Zillow and other providers. And as I personally like to say, this is for entertainment purposes only.
Okay, so think of it this way. Imagine, you know how Zillow gives you a Zestimate? Well, imagine that Zillow gave you a Zestimate on like how, bad your market was. Now, on their Zestimate, they said that they had that only 50% of their values are within 8%.
Okay.
Right? That's a median error. The median error of 8%. That means that half the values were off by more than 8%. So What they did was they were so far off, they created this thing called median error. Mm-hmm. And they ran with it. What median error is it's the halfway point. So when they say median error of 8%, people automatically believe, they're off by 8% either way, right? 8% high, 8% low. That's not what that means. What that means is that on average, they're off by 8% period. They're going to be off high or low, but half the time they're more than that. So it could be 80% off. They could be like substantially off, okay? So what happened was Fortune magazine, right, decided to go look at Zillow's home price index and Zillow has data out of the markets, and it basically decides what a home value should be in the market, right, based on that. And it looked at these markets and it saw the home prices really high. They're going to notice a trend in all of them, okay? We're going to go through them here in a second. But I think they're substantially off, but we're going to go through them anyway. Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll talk about the markets individually. So I'm going to go ahead and put up the thing on the screen, okay, the top 10 most overvalued markets and the amount they're currently overvalued by. So we'll just run through these, okay? We'll start with Boise, Idaho. It says they're 76% overvalued. How do economics work? Like the supply and demand thing, like if they were really, you would think market forces would fix this, right?
You would think. So, because remember, the median home price in Boise is like $600,000. So they're saying that they're off by 76%.
Yeah, so those are $200,000 houses.
So I don't even know how to respond to that, because if you're in Boise, I'm guessing that you can't pick up anything for $230,000 or whatever that is, which is what Zillow is saying that homes should be. Clearly their numbers are, they are a work in progress. There we go. That's a kind way of putting it.
Boise is one of those markets with pretty strong demand in the resale market. The only thing saving them really is that they do have substantial amount of new home building go on, and they have suburbs. We'll call them suburbs of Boise.
Right.
Because Boise is different from Las Vegas, because if you're in Las Vegas, you're basically you're in the valley. Mm-hmm. Vegas, Henderson, North Las Vegas. If you leave the valley, you're gone.
Right.
The nearest town we have is Mesquite. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's like it's in like 45 minutes away.
Right.
But Boise doesn't have that. Boise has all these towns that are right around it, that people live in. You don't have to live physically in Boise.
Right.
So it's more spread out. There's more room to build. There's
right. And then remember, Boise and Idaho in general have benefited during the pandemic from a lot of Californians moving in. So there's been a huge influx of people that way. Plus, Boise has just been a very thriving community. They've got a pretty good education level. They've got a lot of hospitals, university. They have a lot of higher income positions, and of course, this helps to feed these higher price homes.
Okay, of the top 9, because we'll talk about Detroit in a second. Boise, Austin, Utah, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, Washington, Utah. So Utah's got a couple of them in there. These are all places people have fled to.
Right.
They've left California for. And this has, because real estate markets can't change instantly. They can't just create new housing. It takes a long time. But people can move instantly.
Right.
That's a new phenomenon where we've I don't want to call it the Great Reset or the new normal, but people have relocated.
Well, people have relocated, and they've relocated absent of new industry in that new community, because they've been able to bring their jobs with them because they're working remotely. So I think that's really the the biggest shift in housing is that usually you would have influx of people that corresponded with some new industry, some new enterprise that provided jobs locally. But these are not local jobs. These are jobs that are still in other areas, but people are able to work remotely.
The one on here that kind of catches my eye is Detroit, 48% overvalued. A median home there is like 70,000. Like, no kidding. Like a median house. I think we have a whole video on it. It's like one of the, didn't we just do a video where it was one of the 10 worst housing markets?
Yes.
Okay, so one source says it's one of the 10 worst housing markets for price declines, and this says it's overvalued by 48%.
Right, and to keep in mind, so let's say, I just like using round numbers. So let's say that the median house is $80,000 and it's overpriced by 46%. So if we take 46% off that $80,000, would you even be able to put up a structure just using materials? Forget labor. Let's just use just materials. Could you even put up that house with just those materials? And the answer is no.
I can tell you this. I don't care where you are in the U.S. You can't build a house for $40,000, $50,000 bucks. You can't do it.
No.
Land acquisition, labor, all the materials, you physically can't do it. You can do it in the Philippines maybe, but you can't do it here in the U.S. And I think, so the indexes, we're going to talk about Vegas in a second, so don't go anywhere. These indexes that these people come up with that are trying to guess, the problem with them is they're backward looking. They don't take into account what's actually happening and what's changing in the market. And they're based on old set of beliefs where, because if you look at jobs in Las Vegas, for example, and you see what most jobs are here, they're service jobs, and they're connected to the casino industry, and they're not super high paying jobs. They're good paying jobs. They pay, people make okay money. So it's easy to get a job here, right?
There are a lot of warehouse jobs in Vegas because we have a number of distribution centers here. So there are a lot of jobs here, but then there are also a lot of people who work here, but their employer is elsewhere. 8th largest airport in the U.S. for total number of arrivals. It was the number one destination for air travel during the pandemic for the year of 2020. Because when we reopened, everyone came here. And remember that you have people living in all these places that their job is not based there. So it's more difficult today. You used to be able to say, hey, they have a factory in Detroit and this is how much the union workers make. And it's hard to do that today because we live in Vegas and our income maybe is based in Vegas, but the guy that lives next door is a software engineer, and his company that he works for is in California, and he makes $120,000 a year because that's what they pay software engineers. But $120,000 a year is double a family income. Right. It's like two families worth of income. Right. And that there's no way to tell. It's not like there's a software job. We have more software jobs here. We have probably 3 or 4 times more software jobs here than actual jobs, meaning the people are here earning those incomes. Right. And so that's why these markets. Now, something else to point out here. I don't know why everyone roots against Vegas. Business Insider, for like the 6th or 7th year in a row, named Las Vegas in its top 10 list of markets that would fall in the next year. Like it would crash next year. They've been saying this is 2017. Okay. So they've been wrong for 7 years. So in their defense, they will be right someday. Yeah, and one day we will have a drop of like 2%, and everyone will be like, it crashed. The market crashed in Vegas. They'll talk about the market crash. They're just, I don't know what it is about Vegas. Anyway, the reason we wanted to show this to you is because we're going to do we have another video lined up where we have actual data. And what's interesting is Zillow themselves, their actual economic forecast looks nothing like this, meaning they're not predicting these markets are going to drop or anything. Nope. This is somebody who took their data and looked at prices and said, that doesn't make sense. Why are home prices so high in Boise or in Vegas or in Austin? That doesn't make sense. The market shouldn't be able to support that many people. But they don't understand is that people have moved, and they're not just moving temporarily. I mean, you just don't go somewhere and buy a house temporarily. If you're going somewhere temporary, you become a renter. Right.
But if you're going to Boise and you're buying a house, you're probably not leaving. And after you've been there for a while, you probably aren't leaving.
Right.
You probably aren't going back to the Bay Area or wherever you left from.
Right. I mean, when people buy a house, they tend to put down roots. But this is a really good example of using data and not really thinking it through as to what this data actually means. And this happens a lot, and we see this all the time, right? We all see articles, online or in whatever media you're using, and they have these, I like to call them flashy and sexy statistics that they're not well thought out. And this is kind of part of the point that we're trying to illustrate with this video is we're trying to say, hey, look, just because these statistics say that, when you delve into them, they either don't make sense, are not supported by what's actually happening on the ground. And whatever information you get, sit back a moment and reason it through. Does it make sense? And we do this all the time. We look at data all the time, and we saw this, and I just kept scratching my head going, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. This doesn't make any sense. And what's interesting is that the article that had this, they also later on said that they don't predict that any of these markets are actually going to crash. They predict that these markets will flatten. Well, no kidding.
Yeah, home prices are not going to go up at 15, 16% a year indefinitely for 10 years. It's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay, it's not going to happen.
But this goes with any market. Any market that has a rapid increase at some point flattens out before it goes up again. This is a natural thing for all markets to do, particularly in housing. This is the way the cycle works. So this information is just to illustrate that you need to really look at what the data is trying to tell you, and if it doesn't make sense, if it doesn't pass the smell test or the reason test, then look elsewhere for data.
Okay, I'm going to put the slide back up so you can look at this. At the bottom, Honolulu remains the most balanced market with homes selling at just a 0.45% premium. And if you've been to Honolulu, the price of homes are ridiculous. The median's got to be 1.4.
Yeah.
It's got to be. And we're talking for a dump, literally a dump.
No offense if you have the $1.4 million house.
No, I mean, we're not talking about, you sit on a bluff overlooking the ocean and a beach, because that's 20 million probably or more. I think it's hilarious that they're saying a market, because all of these markets pretty much just by looking at them are well under $1 million median. Vegas we know is 5 something. Atlanta's probably not as high, is probably 600,000. Provo, Utah, we're talking Utah, Ogden, Utah, Salt Lake City, Utah. Mm-hmm. It's pretty pricey there, mm-hmm. but it's not like $1 million, 1.4 million. So I just think it's funny that you could somehow look at this data and figure out that Utah's overvalued, Arizona and Nevada, and Idaho, and Texas, all the places people left California to go to, pushed up prices, and then Honolulu is like a balanced market that totally, this is reasonable for homes to be 1.4 million in Honolulu. But here's the thing, this is what I believe. I believe that's what the market will bear, right? Because if people are paying 1.4 million to live there, then they're probably, it probably $4,000 or $5,000 to rent a place. I don't know what a rental would be in Honolulu.
Right.
So,
but the same thing applies to the rest of these. As far as these other markets being overpriced, I disagree. I think that they are priced at what the market will bear. People are moving there. People are willing to pay this money. People can afford it, because if they couldn't afford it, they wouldn't be buying it. So that's kind of where we are with home values. Home values kind of sort themselves out based on what buyers feel the property's worth and what sellers are willing to accept.
We definitely think interest rates going up are going to have a slowing effect on home prices. We have a whole nother video on that we're getting ready to do. We've got all the data. We're going to blast through it. It's more of a general U.S. market, what's going on. But anyway, the whole point of this was sometimes you see those magazine, and this was from Fortune, mm-hmm. which is an online, and I guarantee you there are people who said, I'm not buying a house. There are people who have been waiting since 1973 for the market to crash somewhere because it's not worth, $70,000 to buy a house in Coronado. I'm not paying that. That's outrageous. Home prices aren't worth $70,000 in Coronado. I think median home in Coronado is probably $3 million for a median home.
Probably.
That's like a 3-bedroom, 2,000 square foot house. I'd be shocked if it's not $3 million.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, please subscribe because we have a lot of other good content that you will miss out on if you don't subscribe. Especially if you're a real estate geek. If you are, or if you're a real estate agent and you're just trying to get better information, and figure out what's going on. But we talk about, we literally look at the numbers every day. So the second we see anything changing in the market, especially here in Vegas, we're going to be on it. We're going to be like, okay, inventory just went up, or list prices are starting to drop, or something like that. And we're going to watch it. We have a whole bunch of people who are lined up to sell their house. But some of them don't want to sell right now. They want to wait 2 months or a year or something. So we watch this thing like a hawk because we don't want our clients to go, oh, hey, you told us not to sell for a year and here you are now. It's, we waited a year, we lost out. Because what would most people do? Say, sell now.
Right.
Sell the house now, take the money.
Well, because what they mean by that is sell the house now so I can get the commission now. That's really the translation.
Yeah.
Our take on it is, we're good. We can wait for the commission until it's the right time for you to sell. So we want to make sure that we maximize the funds that our clients get, and we believe that if we do right by our clients, we will be taken care of as well. So hit the notification bell, like the video, share the video, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.